Good morning. Hi. So, I was thinking this morning, one of the things that I'm really pleased about is the fact that it's a given that, yes, people are coming to speak about breath work. Because I remember there were years ago, like a few years when I started, where like people would come and they'd be like, why should I come and pay money to breathe? So I'm very happy that we've come to a place where even if we're not sure exactly what we're doing, we know that there's some benefit. So why would we work on the breath? This is the main question in the first place. Like, what is it that we're doing here? What is it that we're trying to achieve? What is it that we're trying to understand also? So the breath, the way that you breathe, is the way that you think. Yeah, this is one of the main things to take home, if nothing else. The way that you breathe is the way that you think. So if we take an extreme example and we think of someone who is, for example, in the jungle, in the dark, being hunted by an animal, like a tiger or something, like how would that person be breathing if they're running from a tiger in the jungle in the dark? Quickly, yeah. What else? Yeah, short, very shallow breathing. Also, it would be irregular, like erratic, kind of like they're breathing a little bit, then they stop, and they're sharp and all of that. And then if you take the other side of the spectrum and you think of like a newborn child or someone who is very relaxed, like a Zen monk or something, how are they breathing? Just when you just envision it, what's the difference in the way that they're breathing? It's steady, it's slow, it's quiet, it's deep. Yeah, so all of these different things. So just from that, like, I love things when they're just like intuitive information, okay, where it's like the information is right here but we just don't see it. So with your breath, that's just basically the main principle to really hold true, within yourself, whether you're exercising or whether you're trying to sleep or anything. And so if you want to create a specific state of mind, you can. Yeah, this is the main takeaway with all breath work, whether it's pranayama from the yogic tradition or any other tradition. It's like, if you want to energize yourself, you can by means of your breath. If you want to calm down, you can by means of your breath. Yeah. So first things first is how, before we start to like think about techniques and things, it's important that a human being knows what a complete breath is. Yeah, what is the full range of your breath? Because when we're born, we are good breathers. But as we move through life, we become notoriously bad at breathing, actually, and that affects how we sing and how we sleep and all of these things. So a complete breath actually means that you're okay. Do we know which muscle is responsible for the breath? The lungs are the organ where the breath happens, but which muscle makes it happen? Something in the abdomen, the diaphragm. Yeah. So do we know where the diaphragm is? Kind of. Yeah, here. So it's right underneath. Yeah, right underneath the rib cage. It's like this. Like, I don't know. I always think of it as a rainbow, but it's like it's this kind of shape-ish, and it's right underneath here. So when you take a breath in, what happens is that it moves downwards. When you take a breath out, so you exhale, it moves upwards. So look at what's happening in your lungs. So when you take this inhale, it goes downwards, your lungs become larger, right? When you take a breath out, it goes upwards, your lungs shrink once again. So look at what's happening now under the diaphragm. When you take an inhale, it moves where? Down. The lungs are bigger, so the belly is smaller, yeah? And then the opposite as well. So when you take the exhale, it comes up and then there's so much more space. So what you're essentially doing when you're breathing efficiently and your diaphragm is doing this nice wave-like motion is you're massaging your organs. There's this contraction, relaxation. And that is a beautiful built-in gift for you because it means that you're bringing the correct amount of circulation and drainage and just relaxing any tension that's in the belly just by means of breathing. Like no skill, nothing, you know, no technique or anything. You're just doing what your body was meant to do. The thing is, we just kind of forget. And one of the things we always say with practice is we practice to remember. Before trying to achieve anything, we practice to remember what is original to me. You know, what is my natural state. Okay? If your diaphragm is moving up and down, what is happening is that your belly is expanding outwards and then inwards. Yeah? So you've all seen a newborn breathe? You've seen them? Yeah, their belly is like rising and falling and rising and falling, and it's so beautiful, first of all, just to watch, and it's like it's soothing even, you know. But then also it's like, okay, fine, let's see, do I, on a like average day as I go for a walk, do I feel movement in this place? Oftentimes we don't. Yeah. So that's one thing to think about. Yeah. So if you just place your hands on your belly, so maybe let's do that now actually. Okay. So sit up. You can either sit up tall, or if you'd like to slouch backwards with a long spine, you can also do that. Yeah. So bring your hands to your lower belly, one or two. I have one available, so I'm using one. And then just breathe in and out through the nose. So why are we breathing in and out through the nose, not the mouth? Because first of all, it's your instrument of breathing. The mouth is for many other things. The breath is solely for breathing. So that it's just naturally kind of feels like it's something that's in its place, yani. But then also because there's a filtration system, yeah? So as you breathe through your nose, you're filtering out any pathogens and any particles and things like that. But also you're regulating the temperature. So as you inhale, the breath is cooler. As you exhale, the breath is warmer. This is a natural process that should be happening, you know. And then the pH and the moisture and all of these levels remain in check as you breathe through your breathing instrument. Yes? Always the nose, unless they're like specifically instructed for some kind of reason. You're trying to achieve something in particular. But generally speaking, always through the nose. And when you can't breathe through your nose, you know something is wrong. So for example, if you're on a treadmill and you're breathing through your nose, and then you get to the point where you really cannot anymore and you need to, you know, gasp for breath through your mouth, that's the sign that you're pushing yourself too far and you're in a stressful state, khalas. Like your body doesn't know also if you're running from a tiger or if you're in the gym, you know? It doesn't know. Yeah, it's just like, whoa, panic, you know? She's breathing very fast, her pulse is doing this stuff, you know? Like, it's very clear. And then there's an intelligence to the body, but I'll keep that for later, yani. But there's an intelligence to the body that we can't override. You know, it's just like it will speak a different kind of language, yani. And that is just, it's actually the most powerful one. Okay, so we were saying, hands on the belly. When you take an inhale, envision your diaphragm as it moves downwards. And then on the exhale, the diaphragm will move upwards once again. Okay, so just first of all, just think about this rising and falling, yeah? And then see if you can feel motion here. The thing is, we want to do it in a way where it's relaxed. Sometimes when this is like instructed, what we end up doing is like we push the belly out and we pull it back in and all of that, and that's just muscle, yeah? So try to relax in a way where you're feeling that movement is happening, yeah? So we can make this a little interactive, like if you do feel it, you can tell me. If you don't, tell me, and we'll see how can we correct that, or how can we feel other things so that this can be felt. You don't feel it. Okay. So one of the things that's nice to do, I don't think we can right now, is lie down. So when you lie down, and sometimes we even place like a book or something on the belly, and so you feel this rising and falling and rising and falling. So we'll think about the other places where we feel the breath as well, and then we'll come back to it and see whether you feel it in the belly or not. Okay? All right. Yeah. Sure? Ah. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes, because what that means is that you're doing it with your muscles. So what you're doing is like, you know that on a visual level, when you take an inhale, your belly should be expanding. And so you're doing that, but it's not necessarily happening because your lungs have expanded. Okay, so we'll look at the other parts of it, yeah? All right, anything else anyone noticed about the belly? movement? Did you feel a little bit of movement in your belly with the inhales? Yeah? Okay. So, the second part of the breath where you usually feel it is in the rib cage. So you would do this. So on the bone, yeah? On the rib cage itself, like on the hard part, yeah? So with the inhale, it'll be an expansion laterally, and on the exhale, it's a contraction. So on the inhale, what ends up happening is you feel like your circumference becomes larger. On the exhale, it becomes smaller. Yeah, so, okay? So, this one I feel, for example, very much, but some people don't. And so there are three parts. This is the second one. Sometimes we'll feel one and we won't feel the other. Yeah, so that's always like very valuable information. Not so much. So try thinking about like fanning out. So what ends up happening is, so your ribs are here. On the inhale, they fan, and on the exhale, they come back. Yeah, it's like a fanning out on the inhale, coming back on the exhale. Do we feel it a little bit? Yeah? So the belly, the aspect of the breath that is in the belly is the most relaxing part of your breath. It's the part that is the most soothing, the most calming. It soothes the nervous system. The majority, or like the concentration of your nerves actually is in your abdominal area. And then the second part, this part with the rib cage, is more about like the heart health and lung health and the thymus gland, which is responsible for your immunity. So that's the part of the breath that has a little bit of like a more activating piece, and it's also very much related to your actual health. Like your all of them, I guess, are related to your health. But it's this like very linear relationship between the breath and the heart, the breath and the lungs, like that. Okay, the last part would be the chest. So you can bring a hand underneath your collarbones here, a flat palm. And then this one will feel like a rising and falling. So on the inhale, you'll feel up, and on the exhale, you'll feel down. So usually when you tell, like, for example, a child to take a deep breath and they go, like, it's very exaggerated, or like in a cartoon or something like that. It's here, So this is the aspect of the breath that's actually usually the most accessible, because this is where we get stuck. Yeah, this is the place where we're just like, if we're running or if we're panicking or something, we're breathing here and we feel it here. Does it feel like, can you feel it? Yeah? This one's okay? No, it's just like the thing is like you're doing it calmly anyway. So that we feel, yeah? So that one is usually, like I'm saying, it's the most accessible one because we stress, honestly, yeah? We stress out sometimes. So it's just when we bring them back together, that's a complete breath, okay? So on an inhale, what would happen is your abdomen would expand, your rib cage would expand, and your chest would rise. On the exhale, the belly comes in, the chest becomes smaller, or the rib cage, and the chest falls. Okay, so remember we were saying this is the part of the breath in the belly that is more soothing and calming, and this is the part that's more activating and energizing and all of that. So look at this miracle, yeah? Within a normal breath, just a normal, this is not a technique yet, yeah? Just within your natural breath, you have both sides of the spectrum. You have the soothing and relaxing and calming and stabilizing, and you have the energizing, dynamic, let's get things done kind of energy within every breath. So you always have this kind of balance, which is really fascinating, and honestly, it's like that. If you're breathing correctly, you will always have this like grounded, solid energy that gives you a sense of, okay, but I can still see what needs to be done in the world and like achieve things and all of that. It's really beautiful. So that's a complete breath. So that would be what you would train. And the thing is, because it's 3 parts and each of us will be better at one of the parts rather than the others, you would focus on the one that feels like it's lacking a little bit. Yeah, and as you get used to that, and as you just get into the flow of, yes, there's a full range of motion. Because, for example, like with a joint, for example, with your shoulder, if you're used to only using this range of motion, then that's what's available to you. But if on the day that you want to do all of this, you're like, whoa, what is all this? And it's not familiar anymore. Although you have it, it's still within you. It's innate. It's there. But it's just something that is kind of like rusty, you know? And so as you train these parts, it becomes not something you need to think about all the time. Yeah. So it's not like, okay, I have to remember to breathe when they tell me to do this thing or whatever. It's just like you remember these capacities from within you. And so they become more second nature. Yeah. And I can tell you really from experience, it's not like, it's not consistent work. It is nice actually to pay attention to your breath because that is your anchor. It's with you always. You're never without your breath. So it's like a way to easily access presence because you can gain information based on that. But it's not something that you need to always do for the rest of your life in this way. Yeah? So we're saying it's a tool for presence. So it gives you information that is intimate that nobody else can give you. Yeah. So every morning when you wake up, your breath and the way that you are functioning in your body is different than the day before or the tomorrow or whatever. So one of the things that you can think of is if I can't manage to breathe down into my belly today, but I have been every other day of this week, then something is different. Yeah? And it's like, it's direct information. And so you can start to think about, okay, every time I eat ice cream, for example, I wake up in the morning and I can't take a full breath. You know, it doesn't feel as available to me. Or every time I have this conversation with this person, I have this feeling in the morning, you know? And so you start to have this like information that no one else will give you. Really, like, I mean, it's so intimate and it's so personal and particular to you on this day, you know? And so that's one of the things that you can really start to enjoy, you know, that like you start to know that, yes, okay, these things affect me in this way, these things affect me in that way. And or the opposite. I gave you a negative example for some reason, I'm sorry, but it could be the opposite. It could be like, you know, every time I have chamomile in the in the evening, you know, I wake up and my breath is amazing, you know. Or after I drink it in the morning, for example, I feel like I have so much more capacity. So that's just one part of it. Another thing we think about then when we want to start to get into refining like what it is so that you do with your breath, because what's really special about breathwork is that there's part of it that is innate. It's just your natural breath, natural breathing, all these kind of programmed parts of us. But then you can also become like an alchemist. You can start to say, okay, what do I want to create more of? Yeah, in my life. So I want more of this thing, so I can do this, this, this. I want more of that thing, so I'll do that, that, that. Yeah? So one of the first places we begin is by looking at the nostrils. So we know the concept of the right and the left brain. Yeah, how? So can someone tell me about that? What's the difference between the hemispheres of the brain?
Well, the left side of your brain, usually it's the masculine side of your brain, and the right side represents the feminine. The masculine side is more about the logic, the language, the math. You're, if you're able of like putting things together and leaving the conclusion right away and everything. The feminine is more about it's intuition, this kind of energy.
Yes.
And so, as women, you have direct access to the feminine energy. It's easier for you to get there because of your physique. And but I don't know what I'm saying, but
no, you're saying wonderful things. Yeah.
Of maybe the stress or the lifestyle or what you've been taught or everything you know and you don't know. Sometimes it becomes hard to access this feminine side of you, so you go into another side, like the negative feminine energy or
the masculine
energy.
Okay, yeah.
And some people say the best thing is to create a balance between both. Some people say it's better to have a third dimension, like this, and then creating a new level of
I like
and
that.
Each side affects certain organs, certain behaviors, certain attitudes, certain things. Like even with pain, I think when you have pain on the left side of your knee, مثلا, this will indicate that you have a problem with feminine energy right there. If it's on the left, then your ability to move, like it affects every aspect.
It
Just
does.
to,
For sure, yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't explain it the way you would. So
No,
go
no, no.
ahead.
Yeah, I like how you explained it. Oh, it was very clear, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, so I like this thing that you mentioned about the third dimension, because it's the thing is like, yes, there is the differentiation between the hemispheres of the brain. So yes, left side is the more masculine, more strategic thinking, more linear thinking, more logical, get things done kind of stuff. Right side is emotions, intuition, abstract, all this kind of stuff. So we would never be able to be without one side, because life would be kind of incomplete and without one aspect of that. So in your body, the right hemisphere rules the left side of the body. Left hemisphere rules the right side of the body. Okay? So when you're using your nostrils, if we're saying the right side of the brain is the feminine, which nostril would be your feminine nostril? If the right side of the brain is the feminine side of the brain, so it would be your left nostril that is also the feminine one, yeah? Feminine is one label, and we can call it many things, but it can be like the more intuitive side, the more emotional side, the more lunar side, for example, yeah? So when you wake up in the morning, for example, one of the things that is very nice to do is check your nostrils. So on average, a human being has an alternation between the right and the left and the dominance of them, yeah? So you'll have at different points in the day, usually consistently, if you check, one of them will be more open than the other, okay? So if you check now actually. So just block one nostril, check which one is more open, then block the other, check which one is more open. Do we all have an answer? Yeah? Who's in the, which one, who has the right one? Right one is open? Right one? Right? Okay. Left? Left. Sora, what's you? Right? No, no, no. I will explain it. Yeah. Do you have one that's more open than the other? It might be a small difference, but there is a difference. Okay. So, if you wake up in the morning and your left nostril is the one that's dominant, meaning that you're more in your emotions and you're in your creativity and all of this, but you have to go to the bank, you know? And you're like, oh, like I want to write a poem and cook pancakes and like things. And so what do you do? What do you do accordingly? And this might be a longer kind of conversation that we can have at another point where we actually delve into what do I do exactly. But there are breathing techniques that you can do where you would inhale through the side that you want. So if you want more masculine energy in that moment, you would inhale through your right nostril. Yes. Okay, so you'd inhale through your right nostril, exhale through your left. How we do it, and what, and all of this, I think I'll save for another time. But that's what you would do. And then the opposite is also true. For example, you wake up and you want to like sing and dance and all of this stuff, but your brain is like completely like get things done and strategy, and you're drowning in the like to-do lists and all of that, then you would do the opposite. So one of the practices that we do, when you become more consistent with a practice for your general well-being, is that you would do practices where you do both. Yeah, so you would inhale left, exhale right, inhale right, exhale left. So you're balancing both qualities, because like we said, no matter what your body is or what you identify as, yani, or like anything like that, it's very important that you have a balance. You have a balance between both aspects of you. Nobody wants to be all emotions and mush, and nobody wants to be all like rulers and mathematics and stuff. So it's nice to have that. It's nice to feel like, okay, there's this and there's that, and then from there, that's also another way that you get intimate information. again, so first it was just like the wellness or the depth of my breath, the clarity of my breath and all of that. But then when you get into nostrils as well, then you start to say, why am I always stuck on this side, because unless you have like a physiological obstruction, you shouldn't be stuck. You should always be switching. So usually, like, it depends on who you ask and like which texts and all of that, but it's usually around every 90 minutes to 120 minutes there's a switch between the dominance of the nostrils. So for the average person, like if you check now, usually within the next, like by the time we're done, for example, you'll be on the other side. Okay? So what's nice about that is that it just means that throughout the day, you're just kind of dancing between both capacities. You're able to do this and you're able to do that. But what I was saying about being particular and checking and deciding which energy to create is then when we get into like I was saying, the alchemy, like choosing what mental state I want. Because that's what's nice about the breath. It's autonomous and it's happening of its own accord, but then also you can choose what you want to create. Hi. So that's part of it as well, okay? Yeah, you can create it. Yeah, you can create it because your body is there for you. It's a tool, and it's a very intelligent, responsive tool as well, so you can say, okay, I want more of this thing. And then you decide, And then there are many other ways. What do you feel? Should we speak some more? Yeah, right?
You've given us صراحة, you've said a lot of keywords that makes breathwork much more interesting صراحة for me personally.
Cool, yeah.
I like the idea of foods.
Yeah, exactly.
بس
انا عندي كده جات لي مشكله على كبر الفير اوف فلايت ما كانتش وانا صغيره مش عارفه ظهرت ليه في اخر 10 سنين فطبعا عامله لي مشكله لانه اي مره بسافر فيها بحس ان انا متنشنه قوي على فتره الطياره دي فرحت للسايكايترست عشان الموضوع ده فهو قال لي الحل في البريذنج اداني تكنيكس عشان لما يحصل كده وانا في الطياره التوربulence وكده ان انا اعمل التكنيكس دي.
جربتي؟
بصراحه لا عملتهم ما جابوش فايده ما بيبقى الخوف اكتر من بقى والطياره بتهز وبتاع
I'll tell you something. So, my advice في الموضوع ده would be to practice when you're not panicking in the first place. To practice عشان what ends up happening is you build a pathway, a neural pathway, so that it becomes a familiar place. You remember, and when you do this thing, you feel this way. Then it becomes easier access, زي أي حاجة, like لو مشيتي في طريق once, غير when you do it 10 times, the 10th time it becomes like you can close your eyes, be on the phone, whatever, And
maybe that's why it didn't work. Okay.
Yeah, I would say practice, really,
Thank you.
I'm a fan of practice. Yeah. Thank you.